It's a pleasure to welcome everyone. The Senator has asked the Senate press and the leadership of Liberia decided to come along for a friendly year-end interaction. So Senator Dillon, it's a pleasure again to meet you and Happy New Year. And here is Liberia.
Wow, what a day. Good morning, good afternoon. Hello everybody. Welcome to this interaction. Attend it as year-end interaction with the media. Those of you following on the radio, you are welcome on usual radio FM 98.1. We are also welcome live on Joy FM 101.5. I know all the stations and you could be but thank you for coming. Let me firstly give God the glory, as always, for His grace, for life, from January 1 to December 31 today. It is but by the grace of God that we are alive and here. I want to acknowledge God in His life. All of you from the media assigned at the Capitol building, you've done your job throughout the year, and we think it is fair enough to appreciate what you've done. We must admit that you were hard on us for the right reason. Sometimes we got pissed off. Sometimes, you know, politicians, most of all their prisons, when the criticism is harsh, and sometimes for the right reason. Some people don't have the temperament and the tolerance to allow criticism. But you do your job. We try our best under the circumstances to do our job. And we want to say thank you. We are partners in this business. So all of the media institutions in this country, all, now one left out, all of you for the various media institutions assigned at the Capitol building, at the various media institutions, whether you are a talk show host, whether you're in the newsroom, whether you're from the print media, with the newspaper, whether you are a blogger on the social media, whether you run your own podcast, especially like myself too, to interact with the people. I want to say thank you for the year. I want to give God the glory. We call this interaction so that we can roll back 2022 and look ahead for the prospects for 2023. In 2022 was a year of challenges. The country economy on the paper is said to be growing, but the trickle-down effect is not being felt by our people. We acknowledge that. We will be more robust in 2023, especially with our oversight role and what have you. In 2022, we submitted the bill to enact the National Food Assistance Authority. That bill was passed into law by the Senate. It is before the House of Representatives for concurrence. We look forward to its concurrence by the House so that the President will sign it into law so that the National Food Assistance Authority can become a perpetual legal national institution. Somebody, gadget is doing something here. Okay, we can flow. So that that institution can become a perpetual legal institution existing under our laws. The need for the National Food Assistance Authority cannot be overemphasized. every national government, every country has some national institution that that is equipped with the capacity and the logistics to intervene when there's donation, national donation. The National Food Assistance Authority, that agency was brought forth in the 70s by an executive order during a Turbo administration when it was the policy of the government to do feeding at public schools. NAFA, for short, was the institution that when friendly governments or international organizations made donations, charitable donations to Liberia, that institution was brought into being to be the national institution to do the distribution to vulnerable homes, to vulnerable institutions, to the elderly. Whenever we get a donation from foreign governments, foreign institutions, charitable institutions, whenever the government itself wants to do donation to charity, we need that institution. I've thought to bring that institution into perpetual national existence because we need it. Because from the stimulus package experience, we thought that NAFA, that institution, was needed. Had we had that institution existing with the logistics and the capacity, the manpower, we were going to take that $25 million for stimulus package and give it to the national institution to do the distribution because they would have had the logistics and the capacity to do so. Today, Liberia cannot account for $25 million in stimulus package because we turn, or it is said that we turn that money over to a war food program that was said to have the capacity and the logistics. The war food program itself leased and rented our trucks. Our national institution who have done the same or who have had its own logistics, its own trucks, and every equipment needed to do the distribution. Then we will now have the authority to order them for the sake of accountability. But after wasting $25 million, hiring a war food program to do the distribution of the stimulus package, when we ask for accountability, war food programs say they are an international institution and cannot be audited because they are not under the jurisdiction of Liberia. So today, what a war food program got an entire $25 million, what a part of the $25 million was squandered, what it was stolen, what it was diverted. Today we don't know. $25 million gone practically in breeze with no proper accountability. So we thought to bring the National Food Assistance Authority into legal perpetual existence. Thankfully, the Liberian Senate, my colleagues in the Senate, saw wisdom with my bill. The Senate passed it, thanks to the Agriculture Committee and the entire Senate that saw wisdom in passing that bill. And it is before the House, and it is one of my focus in 2023 to get to the House so that that bill, that law can be concurred with and sent to the President for approval. Secondly, we submitted the dual citizenship bill. We want to thank members of the House of Representatives, and I will acknowledge particularly Representative Akarius Gray, who himself put that bill also on the floor in the House of Representatives. It was passed from the House, and then our version and the House's version, sponsored by Akarius Gray, the Senate concurred with that with some minor insertions, and both houses met on a conference committee of which I was a member of the conference committee named from the Senate to liaise with the House to reconcile the differences between the two versions, and we concluded with one version for dual citizenship, which was approved by the president, has been published into him, and it is law of Liberia. Liberians, people, citizens who are born Liberians, all persons who are born Liberian citizens are now allowed to benefit from dual citizenship. Once you were a Liberian citizen and you took up citizenship of another country, you are now allowed to continue being citizen of Liberia. Once you were born a Liberian or born under Liberian parents, whether you were born in Liberia or out of Liberia, you can now enjoy Liberian citizenship and citizenship of other countries that are imposed on you by default because you were born on that soil, or because yourself upon your own volition, you took up upon yourself and took up citizenship of other countries. We want to make it clear, dual citizenship is for Liberian born. It's not open to all. It's not for Chinese to become Liberian and remain Chinese. But if you were a Liberian and you went to China, you took up Chinese citizenship, you are allowed. It's not when you are a Lebanese, then you become Liberian. But if you were a Liberian or you are a Liberian and you took up Lebanese citizenship, the dual citizenship law allows you to remain Liberian and be Lebanese citizen at the same time. If you are a Liberian, you took up citizenship of America, Europe, Great Britain, or any country in Europe, or any part of Africa, you are still allowed to retain your Liberian citizenship, enjoy your Liberian citizenship with some restrictions on especially political offices. So we want to thank the president for this initiative. Upon his assumption of office as president of Liberia, George Weah made it a business to fight for dual citizenship. And we must give this administration the due credit. We are contemplating, in consultation with the Ministry of Agriculture, to proffer a bill, hopefully by February 2023, titled the National Food Fund. This vision came about during the hearing resulting from the rice crisis that we had and experienced in the last few months. Upon our insistence, few of us, and endorsed by the Senate, the Minister of Agriculture, Finance, and Commerce were summoned before the Senate. And during that hearing, I asked the Minister of Agriculture, what do we need to do as policy makers to help elevate and grow our own food, our agricultural sector? What do we need to do? And every time you ask these questions, apart from the policies, the key thing is funding, resources, especially financial resources. So I asked the Minister of Agriculture, if we stop subsidizing the importation of rice and open the market, I asked the Minister of Agriculture and I asked the Minister of Commerce the same thing. If we stop spending money on rice subsidy, open the market for everybody to bring consumable rice and let the market determine the price, will we die? She said no. Will the rice price skyrocket? She said no. I said then let's remove the subsidy. But we as a country cannot continue to live on imported rice. We must grow our own food. We must develop and promote our agricultural sector. We must promote local production. I asked the minister, if a law was passed, all the other things, the policy and implements left with the Ministry of Agriculture. I was looking at funding. to make a bill, to pass it into law, to do something, is one of the easiest things. How would that thing be funded? Is most of the time the question we don't answer. So most time we pride ourselves into, oh, I put a bill on the floor, it was passed, but it's just a law, but it's not being implemented, because sometimes the source of funding is not derived, it's not thought of before you even do the bill. So my view was, taking from the road, the National Road Fund experience, can we do a national food fund where every bag of rice imported in this country, flour, any food item imported in this country, we can take 25 cents and put it in our food fund, so that money generated through that means can be used exclusively for the agriculture sector, for local production, to empower our farmers, to bring in the necessary machines and equipment to grow our own food. And the minister thought that was a very good idea, and she said the ministry was even contemplating in that direction. So solicited the intellectual property of a lawyer who is drafting a bill in that direction. My office consulted with a lawyer who is drafting a bill, and I will work in consultation with the Ministry of Agriculture so that we can get that bill concluded and submitted on the floor. By the first quarter of 2023, God willing, it will survive and live to see that time, so that we can see how we can get the Senate to pass that into law, so that we can now put in motion, set in motion to get on the road to growing our own food. First, we got to be, we got to have secure food security, and then we can elevate to self-sufficiency. When you elevate to self-sufficiency, food sufficiency, then you have reached a point where you have sufficiency of food so much that you can start to export it to other countries. Like India, Pakistan, Ukraine, they have it so much that they export into the world. We got to secure ourselves first. Then when we are sufficient of it, then we can start to export it. And for me, those are the kind of things I'm looking at. During a year, we perform our oversight role, at least to the best of our ability, to the extent possible that we could. There were times it was tough in the Senate. We could not get the support of the majority. There were times we managed to secure the support of the majority. One of the things that we still have not succeeded in getting a hold on, and we're going to be more robust on it, is the budget and the performance, with specific reference on domestic debt. It is my view that domestic debt has been used by government and administration upon administration to hurt this country, to wreck the resources of this country. It is my view, until proven otherwise. Every government that comes on has huge interest in domestic debt component of the budget. We want to see the accountability. Liberia owes debt. Liberia has external and domestic debt. We must pay as a responsible country and responsible government. But when we're paying, or we say we're paying, we must show the accountability. Domestic debt, Liberia domestic debt stands at over 500 million. Liberia domestic debt stands at over 500 million. As a senator myself, I know for a fact that this country owes both external and domestic debt. But when we have interest in paying the debt, we should also have the interest in accounting, so that our books can be clear and it can be transparent. Domestic debt particularly. The reason I am keen on this is because when I approved a budget of $84 million, and I can see who we're paying, and you're bringing me $84 million in a new budget, and I can see who we're paying, then it is troubling. It is troubling. I want to know what our Liberians are participating in the economy. The government is the biggest vendor. The government is the biggest spender. If we are spending as the biggest spender in the country, the biggest vendor in the country, who are we spending our country money on? Is it Liberian businesses? Is it Liberians through provision of goods and services to the government? Who are we prioritizing? How are Liberians participating in the economy? Are we giving them contract? Are we paying them? Are we prioritizing paying them so the money can be in circular flow, the economy can be turning, the wheels can be turning, and as we pay, as we contract Liberian businesses and we pay them, they can expand. And every time a Liberian business expands, there's a potential for employing additional or more Liberians. Who providing goods and services to government? What kind of goods and services? Where's the list? At what time are we going to do a cutoff point? Say like statute of limitation. Why do you want to pay somebody who it is claimed to have provided goods and services to the government in the 70s? And somebody who provided goods and services last year, you are not paying them. What is informing the priority list for payment? I want to know all of these things. Also, we raised the issue about $11 million that the legislature approved for rest subsidy. You cannot subsidize something and there's a crisis with that thing. Then something is smelling, something is fishy. So we have been demanding accountability over the $11 million that the legislature passed to subsidize the importation of rice so that it can be available and stable to our people on the market. You cannot pass $11 million and all of a sudden the shortage of the commodity. And nobody wants to answer because the people who should make them answer, the legislature, with particular reference with the Liberian Senate, in majority, has not mustered the courage, has not summoned the courage, my famous boy, lacking in spine, to hold these people accountable. And this is an issue that will be carried forward in 2023. It's not going to die in 2022. No. You all know that Samuel 12, we wish him speedy recovery from his accident, him and his wife. I'm hoping that, praying that the driver and the security, they are all recovering or they have recovered. We pray for speedy recovery for Samuel 12, the Minister of Finance and his wife. But we all know during the year, Samuel 12, the Minister of Finance, made allegation to the effect that the legislature authorized him to use $7 million of road fund money. The road fund law says any money generated for the purpose for that road fund must be used only for roads, construction of roads, reconstruction of roads, bridges, rehabilitation of roads. It must only be our OADS. Any money generated for that fund should be used on roads. Whether we are constructing new roads, whether we are rehabilitating old ones, whether we are doing new bridges or rehabilitating old bridges, everything that has to do with roads. Samuel 12 informed this country that he was authorized by the legislature to divert road fund to pay salary. That was a lie. That was untrue. It was painful that the legislature, including the Senate, voted to take responsibility of something that did not happen. And that is why all of you who assigned at the Capitol, you saw me, we placed ourselves on record. That day, when the Senate took that painful, embarrassing vote, I was the only senator who voted no on the record because Samuel Tuwe should be prosecuted for diversion of public funds that he wasn't authorized to do. It should be a root dose of the Samoka, Brownie Samoka scenario or situation. Sadly, the legislature, let me make it clear that the day I voted alone, refusing to clear Samuel Tuwe of that act of criminality. Senator Lawrence, Nyombi Kanga Lawrence, was out of the country on official matter. Senator Steve Zago and Jonathan Kape were out of the country on ECOWAS assignment. Senator Jonathan Borcha Sobwe voted, he abstained. He abstained because at the time, it is the time Samuel Tuwe alleged that the legislature authorized that money to be used for salary. Senator Jonathan Sobwe was not elected senator. He wasn't in the Senate. So he did not have the information to vote on. So he abstained. But on the record, I was the only senator. All of you have the record because one of the reforms we took to the Senate was to cause the Senate to vote on the record on every crucial, critical issues so that nobody can come out of that room and say, no, I voted this way, and even though it went that way. We opened the Senate to the public. We opened the Senate to the public. And so that road fund issue, it is not done with yet. After we remove this CDC gang from over the country, we'll revisit that road fund because the legislature does not have any authority, any legal power to absorb acts of criminality. It is not within the jurisdiction. It is not within the authority. The legislature lacks that power to absorb anybody from criminal conduct. Only the court can do so. And only the president can pardon a convict as a result of a criminal commission. So the road fund issue, I want to inform that this road fund issue is still on the table. When you divert public funds unauthorized, you can be prosecuted for misuse of public property, public fund, and that is still on the record. Through the year, we'll also raise the issue about the RIA rule. The RIA rule is a death trap. In 2020, somewhere January in 2020, those of you assigned at the Capitol, you saw that Senator Oscar Cooper, former Senator Oscar Cooper of McGibby, Senator Darius Dillon, particularly two of us, including Senator Lawrence, and I remember Samuel Johnson from Birmingham, we insisted that the East International Company that was hired by the government of Liberia through the Ministry of Public Works lacked both the financial and technical capacity to do a major project like the RIA road. We were rebuffed by the majority. We were overwhelmingly defeated by the majority. And we insisted that that ratification of that contract, of that deal, will haunt this country, will shame the legislature, will embarrass the legislature, and it was not a good thing to do. But as usual, majority saw it otherwise. In fact, some people said Dillon is in 2020 election, so he campaigning on everything against the government. Everything we do since we became senator, our decision most often is informed. My office consults a lot. If there's issue with the budget or financial issue, I consult with people who are educated on financial matters, on the budgeting and everything. I have staff that does research. If there's a technical issue, I consult with people in that field so as to inform my decisions and my debates on the floor to convince my colleagues why we should do it this way because of XYZ. We made all of these representations, but the majority saw it otherwise. They did similarly. They didn't utter it, but they did similarly like they did the Eton and Igbo math. Bogus deals before we became senator. Today, East International about the RIA role have demonstrated that they lack the capacity, both technical and financial. Now, this is not Senator Dillon saying it any longer. The Minister of Public Works, in a hearing before us, that was brought about by a communication that my office signed by me wrote to the Senate, bringing our collective attention to the situation on the RIA role. The Ministry of Public Works entire team came here by the Minister of Public Works and gave us not a verbal feedback, a written document, technical report that they have found. They've concluded that East International lacks both the technical and financial capacity to do a major project such as the RIA role. And their report was very specific. RIA role. East International lacks both the financial and technical capacity. Taking us back to 2020, when we, 4 of us, stood up against the entire Senate to say this deal would backfire, it is wrong. The Ministry of Public Works has also recommended in our technical report a review of that contract. So calling on stakeholders to review that contract with the possibility of hiring a new contractor or getting East International to do the work. I don't have confidence in East International to do that work. They have failed. They don't have the capacity. And if we keep that contract, that project with East International, that project is going to be lying in ruin for up to I don't know how many years. And the RIA road is a major project. It's a major path. It's the gateway to the country from the RIA, from the international airport, the only international airport that we have, especially coming to the capital city of the country. And so we're going to step up this oversight function on the RIA road so that we can make sense of it and get back on the drawing board to bring relief to our people on our road. No construction firm will do the mess that East International did over there. No construction firm with true technical capacity will go damage both ends of the road all at the same time. And you know you don't have the financial means, you don't have the capacity. My understanding is that the government has paid off $30 million because that contract is supposed to be pre-financed. You do portion, we pay for the portion. What East International is said to have done on our IRO, my understanding, and I will be demanding report and accountability, my understanding is that the government has spent $30 million on East International for what they say they've done on our road so far. My inside understanding is that East International is insisting that they got only $10 million out of the 30. Something is smelling. That is why every time you call for hearing or ask questions about East International Road, some people start to jitter. 2023 is going to be a tough year at the Senate because these things, we're going to bring them up. We're going to insist on logical conclusion, and where possible, if people have to be prosecuted, we insist that it should be. You all know